Batman Arkham City is a 2011 video game developed by Rocksteady Studios and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment. It was a sequel to 2009's Batman Arkham Asylum, and also written by Paul Dini, with Paul Crocker and the game's director Sefton Hill. Just like Arkham Asylum, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill came back to voice Batman and the Joker respectively, with this meant to be Mark Hamill's swan song as the Joker because of what happens in the story campaign. But we all know by now that he never retired. As I brought up in the Arkham Asylum video, Arlene Sorkin did not come back to voice Harley Quinn in Arkham City, and she was replaced by Tara Strong. And as I brought up in my Injustice Gods Among Us video, Tara Strong did not hit the ground running in her debut as Harley Quinn. I will give some examples later. The game won multiple awards for the Character of the Year, Best Action Adventure Game, Best Xbox 360 Game, and the Best Adapted Video Game, and even to this day people can't shut up about how great the game is. So for this recap, I'll try to not sound like I'm trying to counterbalance that by hating it for the sake of hating it, but rather to be fairly critical. And before we begin, if you would, please subscribe to me because it makes it easier to make these kinds of bigger videos if I know that there will be an audience reacting to them. To the recap! It has been about 18 months since the Asylum takeover, and Catwoman is kidnapped by Two-Face for trying to rob him. After that patched-in DLC episode Fraction, Bruce Wayne is shown holding a very legitimate press conference / protest against a super prison made from a closed-off part of Gotham City. Outside of that description, it is already a controversial prison because you get sent there no matter crime you have committed, from the most violent offenders to those poor bastards who didn't return their library books in time.
What seems to be the officer problem?
Since it is illegal to criticize a no man's land, Bruce gets captured by the highly trained Tiger Guards of Arkham City. After getting psychologically bullied by the new warden who knows that he is Batman, and about something called Protocol 10, Bruce gets thrown in with the general population and is immediately singled out by the Penguin for a family feud between the Waynes and Cobblepots. Luckily, Penguin underestimates Bruce for a spoiled rich party boy and gets punched out before Bruce beats up all his men and escapes to the rooftops to contact Alfred.
Alfred, have you got my location?
Only just, sir. There's more interference than usual.
This gets him his Batman costume and equipment delivered via an airdrop, so he can investigate what Protocol 10 is. As his first step, Batman taps into the guard's radio frequency and learns about Catwoman being held captive at the courthouse by Two-Face. Batman heads to the courthouse to beat up Two-Face's men and then gets shot, while Catwoman breaks herself free before Batman gets to save her from getting shot too. Catwoman, however, does not thank him, even after Batman saves her from getting shot again by a sniper.
You expecting a kiss?
She then leaves Batman to go track down the sniper at the church, where Harley Quinn and her men have taken the medical team hostage. Harley talks to Batman while sounding like Timmy Turner from Fairy Godparents.
So anyway, here's the deal. Mr. J is really not up to a visit right now. He's not feeling himself. Well, actually, he was earlier, but that's not what I meant.
And then leaves Batman to beat up her men and save the medical team, who tell him one of them was taken by Harley. After that, Batman climbs up the belfry to find a remote-controlled sniper rifle that then blows up, but not before Batman manages to track down where it was being controlled. Batman follows the radio signal from the sniper to southwest from the church, the old steel mill, where he saves the doctor who tells him that the Joker is dying. Before going to see the Joker for himself, Batman MacGyvers a new gadget for himself, and then has to fight a one-armed man. After that, he climbs up to the manager's office to find Harley Quinn crying over a seemingly passed-away Joker. But when analyzing the supposed corpse, Batman is ambushed and knocked out gassed by a seemingly another Joker.
You fell for the old fake Joker gang, Batman!
Batter up!
While Batman is visiting the Sandman, Catwoman is shown acting selfish and so unlikably towards Poison Ivy that you'd expect her to have been written by Tom King.
Okay, Selena, time to find Ivy. Let's hope she's forgiven me. Of course she has. She wouldn't hold a grudge.
You shouldn't have come here.
Oh, come on. You're not seriously going to hold that against me forever, are you?
You killed them all.
They were just flowers, Ivy. I'll buy you some new ones.
When Batman wakes up, the Joker tells him that the Titan infection from 18 months ago is still in his body, killing him. When Batman responds apathically, the Joker reveals that he has given Batman his blood of two via blood transfer, and if the mismatched blood types don't kill Batman, then the disease in the blood will. Now in the same boat, and because he has also sent his blood to emergency rooms in Gotham, the Joker sends Batman to go find Mr. Freeze, whom he had working on a cure but who has gone dark on him. Checking out the last place where Mr. Freeze was last seen, Batman ends up discovering the Penguin's men, who after some coercing reveal that Mr. Freeze has been taken to the Penguin's museum southwest of the prison. To get there, Batman has to first destroy 3 signal jammers keeping him from entering the museum. There, he has to also rescue undercover police officers sent by Commissioner Gordon besides just Mr. Freeze from the Penguin, who has also taken Mr. Freeze's freeze gun. After securing most of the officers and getting an override key to the gun from Mr. Freeze upon his rescue, Batman confronts the Penguin and manages to beat him down with one punch.
You're finished, Cobblepot.
No, I'm sorry. Please, don't hurt me.
I can't guarantee that.
Me neither.
Refusing to be defeated, Penguin tries one more trick by sending Solomon Grundy, whom he found from the Iceberg Lounge's basement, at Batman. After that, Penguin tries one more way to fight back, but it's not enough. With the museum taken back from him and Mr. Freeze rescued, he shares his work on the cure to Batman and tells him the bad news. In order to make a working cure, they need a bonding agent, or else the cure will take too long to become usable. Luckily, Batman has seen something similar in his potential father-in-law, who just happens to have people working for him in Arkham City to lead Batman to him. A ninja that the Penguin had imprisoned escapes when hearing Batman mention Ra's al Ghul and runs away bleeding, so that Batman can again follow the blood. Knowing that he needs to follow her to Russia for his blood, Batman catches up with the ninja and places a tracker on her bare skin that she doesn't feel on her for some reason. Robin then shows up to say hi, give Batman the light launcher, and Batman gives Robin a sample of his blood to try and find how many people in Gotham are infected from it. Following the ninja underground, Batman begins to show symptoms of the bad blood transfusion the Joker gave to him with his health decreasing, dizziness, and by vomiting blood. He also rescues a nurse cosplayer who got kidnapped by the Joker's men looking for doctors, and learns that Warden Strange has been given the Tiger Guard's weapons to them. Batman's health decreases very low by the time he catches up with the ninja, but not before having a vision of his parents welcoming him to the afterlife, as yet another reminder that his parents are dead. The ninjas then have him on their mercy, and remind him that there are no friends to save him, but lovers. Oh yes. There are lovers down there to save Batman.
Hello, Talia.
You didn't need to get yourself arrested to see me, Bruce. After that night we spent in Metropolis, you could have just called. Your face! What happened?
Batman, being close to dying due to the bad blood transfusion, tells Talia that he is willing to marry her if that is what it takes to save his life. As his betrothed, Talia makes Batman go through a trial which includes him drinking liquid from the Lazarus pit, which once again makes him trip balls, but luckily also heals Batman from the effects of the bad blood transfusion. Getting through the trial, Batman returns to Talia, who cannot hide her enjoyment to their upcoming union. And of course, Batman has to break her heart in refusing to take Ra's al Ghul's place by killing him, even in another tripping balls boss fight. Following that boss fight, Batman takes a full blood sample from Raj, and Talia calls him before Batman leaves to return to Mr. Freeze. Climbing back to the surface, Batman comes across Killer Croc, who doesn't bother to fight him because he senses that Batman is dying. And then suddenly, The mayor and former warden of Arkham Asylum has also been sent to Arkham City, so Batman decides to interrogate him too about Protocol 10.
No! Please, no!
I want to know all about Strange, and how you're tied into all this.
I'll tell you everything! Strange came to me back at the asylum. He told me he had friends. Powerful friends. The sort of people who could make things happen. All I had to do was turn a blind eye to his experiments and work on my campaign. He said his friends would ensure that I won.
Who are they?
I have no idea. I never met them. They funded everything. Money was no problem. All I had to do was set up Arkham City and put Strange in charge. It made perfect sense. The scum of Gotham needed to be punished.
Yes, especially that scum who have overdue parking tickets, late library books, and go full randy at Little League baseball games.
What, is this a communist country or something? I thought this is America!
Batman leaves the disgraced mayor to the roof before heading to the old GCPD building, where Mr. Freeze has made a home for himself. Arriving there, Batman hands Ra's al Ghul's blood sample to Mr. Freeze, and he manages to create 2 vials of the cure from it, but then destroys the other to force Batman into rescuing his wife. Without even waiting for Batman to agree or disagree, Mr. Freeze then starts what people still to this day praise as the best boss fight in the series.
No! No! Get off me!
After Batman has beaten some sense into Mr. Freeze and discovered that Harley Quinn stole the other vial of cure, Mr. Freeze gives Batman freeze grenades and asks nicely if Batman can save his wife. Because Batman decides now not to be an asshole, he agrees to find and save Mr. Freeze's wife, right after he has rescued a Black Hawk Down Vicky Vale and gotten trolled by the Mad Hatter.
Freeze's wife is safe. I should tell him. I found her, Freeze. She's safe.
Nora, where is she?
She was locked up in Warehouse 5B in the Falcone shipping yard. She's safe, Victor. You can go to her.
Thank you, Batman. I doubted you. I am sorry.
Then Batman heads back to the steel mill where the Joker has apparently gotten himself restored and decides to talk about Lost.
Imagine your favorite TV show. You've been through it all, the ups, the downs, the crazy coincidences, and then bang! They tell you what it's all about. Would you be happy? Does it make sense? How come it all ended in a church?
Anyone else remember Lost? After finding Harley tied and gagged, and then leaving her tied and gagged, Batman goes to confront the Joker, who pulls a Sheriff of Nottingham from Men in Tights on Batman.
I challenge you to a duel. I accept. That's going to cost you, Loxley.
Please, put it on my bill.
So it's come down to this, has it? A fight to the death. Mano a mano. Man to man. Just you and me and my gods!
Check please, table 1.
And after that Mel Brooks movie reference, the game decides to remind Batman that Protocol 10 was a thing, and it's happening now. Batman ends up getting pinned under rubble, but is saved from whatever the Joker was about to do to him by the woman who loves him, and still has the tracker from earlier. Talia still leaves with the Joker and leaves Batman pinned under rubble. And then we jump back to whatever Catwoman and Poison Ivy were doing for the last 7 hours! Anyway, because the plot demands it, Catwoman talks Poison Ivy into helping her break into an underground vault for loot and Ivy's plans. And Catwoman pays back her help by burning the bridge of Ivy ever helping her.
Tie me up in your plans? Like hell. How does that feel, Ivy?
Then Protocol 10 happens from Catwoman's point of view, and seeing Batman pinned under debris, she decides to leave him and leaves Arkham City. Or that is what should happen based on the established characterization of this Catwoman, who has not shown any passing interest in helping Batman in anything he is doing, and didn't even thank him for saving her life twice in the courtroom!
You expecting a kiss?
But since the game is supposed to go forward, it reverts back to the crossroad and makes Catwoman go to the other direction and save Batman so the game can continue. Catwoman rescues Batman from under the rubble and calls them even before leaving to hide from the attack helicopters killing prisoners, as Protocol 10 is revealed to be one big purge. Since Batman saved Catwoman twice, he knows she is trash, and focuses instead to rescuing Talia, who genuinely loves him. But Alfred and Oracle remind him that needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So Batman tells Oracle not to lose Talia's signal before heading to get some coaching at the attack helicopters to enter Arkham City Command Center. There Batman gets confronted by Warden Hugo Strange on a huge screen, who tells his Tiger Guards to kill Batman. They of course fail, and Batman moves in further towards Strange at the top of the Wonder Tower overlooking Arkham City.
I have not won. Cannot win. I, Hugo Strange, am your successor. I have saved Gotham.
Oracle, shut this place down.
Strange is then unable to accept that he has lost, and then Ra's al Ghul appears to tell Strange he has failed at what he was expected to do. The two were apparently in cahoots to have most of Gotham's deplorables exterminated, but Ra's recognizes that Strange has failed, and Batman is still his favorite son-in-law. This is the straw that breaks the camel's back for Strange, and he blows up the top of the tower with Batman and his father-in-law jumping out of there just in time. Ra's commits a seppuku on his way down and falls on the gate, which Batman downplays on him just needing to be taken to a Lazarus pit. The Joker then announces to the entire Arkham City that he has Talia at Monarch Theater, and will shoot her if Batman doesn't show up. After dealing with the snipers guarding the front door, Batman enters to witness his betrothed seemingly kill his best friend, and reveal that she has the cure that Mr. Freeze has made. This causes Batman to have an epiphany that distracts him long enough for the real, still sick Joker to shoot Talia in the back, and she dies in the arms of her beloved. The other, healthier Joker is then revealed to, in a shocking twist, to have been the shape-shifting villain Clayface voting as the Joker for appearances, and to be the final boss of the game. In the final boss fight, Batman has to throw an endless supply of freeze grenades at Clayface, and slice him into pieces with Talia's sword to get the cure from Clayface. After the second health bar has run out, the Joker blows up the floor and drops them to the third part of the fight in Ra's al Ghul's Lazarus Pit chamber. There, Batman has to keep slicing Clayface's proxies and keep throwing those freeze grenades at him until he dives in to grab the cure from Clayface and wreaks havoc. And then this happens. The Joker then calls out from the darkness to have Batman give him the cure, and Batman contemplates giving it so long that the Joker decides to stab him, which leads to Batman dropping the cure and making it spill across the floor. The Joker could slurp it off the floor with his mouth to cure himself, but after Batman tells him he would have given it to him regardless, the Joker decides to die laughing at the irony.
That actually is pretty funny!
The game's story campaign ends with Batman carrying his best friend's remains out of Arkham City and handing it over to Commissioner Gordon, and then he goes home to mourn for the only woman who had ever truly loved him. Post-credits there is still a portion of the patched-in Catwoman DLC, where Selina selfishly gets her loot back from Two-Face after he took it from where she left it after going to help Batman. Pretty much like when I played through Arkham Asylum, I decided to go through the story campaign without gliding for the extra challenge. This led to a couple of ridiculous launches, floatings, and landings, as well as a lot of improvising in parts of the game, where gliding was not the only option. It also made some Predator sequences into a rust-through. Where the no-glide restraint made the challenge real was in the Victor Zsasz side mission, at least on those parts where it was still happening during the story campaign. After it was over, gliding was cleared out once more. And another challenge I gave myself when playing the game was going as far as possible without upgrades and level ups. The furthest I managed to get in was in the iceberg lounge when trying to defuse Mr. Freeze's gun so the Penguin couldn't use it. For that I needed to upgrade Batman's armor because fuck that part! Story-wise, as I brought up a couple of times during the recap, the Catwoman portions were originally DLC that were patched into the later versions of the game, such as the GOTU version I played, and for the Return to Arkham remaster. But they were not placed perfectly in to fit the narrative because it suggests that Catwoman was hanging upside down at Poison Ivy's place for 7 hours. Not to mention the fact that Catwoman was written as a very unlikable and selfish person, that it was no wonder how Batman seemingly had a much better and more invested relationship with Talia.
You expecting a kiss?
When it comes to the main story, it did start with a somewhat engaging premise with Hugo Strange imprisoning Bruce Wayne while knowing he is Batman. But as soon as the Joker made his presence known in the game, all of that was brushed aside with barely acknowledgeable reminders here and there as lynch marks to tell what time it is. Then the main storyline becomes Batman being poisoned, which overshadows the game's opening premise. Meaning that by the time the Protocol 10 happens, it hits like a truck saying, "Hey guys, fire me!" The game also had a fanservice amount of Batman characters in it, but not all of them fit the story campaign and were left as side quest enemies. This is why I didn't bring up any of them except for the Mad Hatter in the story recap. Then killing the Joker was apparently something that the people at Rocksteady had apparently decided to do from the start, with Paul Dini pressuring that it shouldn't be done as shock value and without Batman being in any way responsible for it. Well, they succeeded in both, which was supposed to lead to somewhere in the following games with the Al Ghul as Batman's in-laws, likely meant to foreshadow the coming of Damian Wayne as Batman's legacy in the future. Or so I have come to understand based on these leaked concept arts of this older Batman and younger Batman who has the same darker skin complexity as Talia did. The returning voice cast of Conroy and Hamill need no further praise than what they have already gotten. Those two were still at their A-game at 2011, and Hamill, who was going to retire from his role as the Joker, gave one of his greatest performances here. Nolan North was also awarded along with Hamill for his vocal performance as the Penguin, who did such a good work that it took me up until I was working on this video to realize that he also voiced a couple of goons in the game along with Steve Blum. Corey Burton and Dean Bradley Baker were serviceable as Hugo Strange and Ra's al Ghul, while Troy Baker pulled a diverging double role as Two-Face and Robin. Stana Katic had a properly disguising accent in her performance as Talia, and Maurice LaMarche was directed to channel Mr. Freeze's emotionless emotions to perfection. Martin Jarvis and Kimberly Brooks were only disembodied voices as Alfred and Oracle, with the latter doing a significantly better job than the former, but that got better in Arkham Origins. Grady Lisle, or Griffin, whichever she is now, did an otherwise fine job as Catwoman. Fine enough that she was brought back to voice Catwoman in Arkham Origins Blackgate, Arkham Knight and in the Injustice series. However, the writing for her was not the best possible it could have been, as I brought up multiple times in the story recap, but that was not her fault. And then there was Tara Strong, who replaced Arlene Sorkin as Harley Quinn. As I said it in the beginning, she did not hit the ground running in her debut as the character, but ultimately did find a balance she should have maintained in going forward in Injustice Gods Among Us. She didn't, as we later learned in Arkham Knight, but that is for that video. And with that, I'm going to end this video. Leave a like on it, comment something down there, share this video for more people to see, and subscribe to know when I have more videos coming out. Also, ding the bell to know when I decide to do another stream. and may your heart be your guiding key.